Righting Wrongs is a 1986 Hong Kong action flick that's directed by Corey Yun. So, Righting Wrongs is a $50 Patreon request that comes from, well, I call him Chili in the Discord. Not really sure of his real name, but that's just what I know him by. He's been an active member of the Discord for quite some time, and I'm really grateful for his support. And I was also just grateful that he chose this film for me to watch and review, because Hong Kong action flicks are like one of my biggest blind spots in cinema, and I think that's mostly because the action genre just isn't my favorite genre. It's actually usually quite low in terms of the types of genres that I would gravitate towards when it comes to filmmaking. But regardless, I felt pretty excited to finally dip my toes in this arena. I think the only Hong Kong action film that I can think of that I've seen is Police Story with Jackie Chan, and I really enjoyed that one. Obviously, how could you not find enjoyment and appreciation in that one? But I think that's really about it. So again, pretty ignorant to this world of filmmaking and this side of film history. So with all that being said, after watching Righting Wrongs, I want to watch more Hong Kong action because I really, really enjoyed this movie. It's just so entertaining. And I never felt bored at any moment when watching this movie. It's just a whole lot of fun and really packs a punch, no pun intended. First and foremost, we have to talk about the obvious and most important thing about this film, which is the action sequences. How awesome is the action in this movie? Well, it is beyond awesome. The action in this movie is astronomical. It's kind of overwhelming just thinking about how they were able to pull off a lot of the stunts and a lot of the choreography, and again, a lot of the martial arts work that we see in this film, because there's just so much of it. It feels aggressive and natural, and you just really feel the impact of all of it. It's very, there's like a showmanship to it, and you just never get bored of it. And maybe in comparison to other Hong Kong action films, this is like a cakewalk. But again, I've never seen really any of it. This is pretty much my first exposure to it. And again, that's why I said I can't wait to watch more. Because if this is setting the standard for what I should expect from good Hong Kong action films, I'm all on board. Just the action filmmaking feels so high octane, and it just feels like it's at such a high level. I mean, people are getting their faces kicked in. There's people getting crushed and pinned in between cars and getting dragged by cars and getting dragged by airplanes and hanging off of ropes from airplanes that are up hundreds of feet in the air. It's insanity, and I was just so entertained by all of its efforts. I mean, I couldn't imagine making a movie like this at all. There's just so much that goes into it. Biao Yun is the main actor in this film, and apparently he does almost all of his own stunt work and martial arts choreography in this film, and he absolutely kills it. Apparently he's pretty much like a legendary figure when it comes to Hong Kong action. Unfortunately, it seems like he's mostly underrated because he's not nearly as remembered as people like Jackie Chan or Jet Li or anything like that, but he still has made an impression on the scene. And I just think this guy deserves so much praise. I mean, just from this film alone, I just think he fucking killed it, and he does a lot of daring shit. American actress Cynthia Rothrock is also in this film. Again, I've never really seen her or anything because I think she's mostly known for, starring and just being a part of these action-type films. And she also kicks so much ass in this film. You can tell, again, a lot, at least from what I'm seeing in the film, unless they're doing amazing editing tricks, which that's another thing. I think the editing in this film is pretty damn great. But, unless they're doing editing magic, I think a lot of what we see in the film is her doing her own stunt work. And she is very convincing and does it incredibly well. You can tell that she spends a lot of time training for this kind of shit. And she just does an excellent job. Now, when it comes to the dubbing of her character, I could be wrong, but it seems pretty obvious that she doesn't speak Chinese. So you could tell that they were really forcing that Chinese audio dub over what I presume she was talking English on set. But whatever. Like, it is what it is. I'm not going to really dock it for that. But, yeah, overall, like, I just think everybody that was involved in this film, acting-wise and performance-wise, stunt-wise, should all be praised to high heaven. They all fucking kicked ass and, put so much risk into it. Very high-risk film, especially for some of the more, grandiose stuff that we see in the third act of this film. But yeah, like, again, action-wise, this film is directed and committed to by the actors, and again, was really well put together in terms of film editing. I think the editing goes a long way, as to why a lot of the flow of the action feels quite visceral and, again, feels aggressive and impactful. Because in terms of action presentation, I do really think a lot of aspects of filmmaking came together to make it seem as immersive and as compelling as it was. Now, in terms of story, what is this film about? I'm sure there's plenty of you out there that are like, oh, this guy's talking a lot about the action, but what the hell is this film even about? To put it simply, it's about a lawyer that loses faith in the system, starts taking matters into his own hands, vigilante justice, if you will. An inter-federal agent played by the woman lead actress. She's basically like a federal agent that suspects him, gets a whiff of it, investigates him throughout the entire film. But there's a serious amount of police corruption coming from the institution of law enforcement at the very tip top, and they both end up having a common enemy by the end of the film. That's basically the story in a nutshell. And, I mean, again, this film isn't really about the story, but I do got to give it some props. I mean, I do think that this is still able to craft a meaningful type of story. As I mentioned, that is about police corruption and judicial corruption and collusion and conspiracy. And I think it crafts a compelling enough narrative with these concepts and with these themes that really do a good job at combining all the action and having interesting characters to propel everything along and make you care about things that are happening. Because that's another thing about this film is the stakes in this film feel incredibly real, scary real. And that is one thing that I feel like is crucial to a good action film. As a non-action fan, I can tell you that one thing that I always look for in an action film, and I feel like we just don't get in action films in recent years, are genuine stakes. And this film provides that and pretty much on almost every level, in a scary way, as I mentioned. No character is safe in this film. And you get that feeling like pretty much at the halfway point when a character that you think is going to be integral just gets wiped out. Some people say that might be a bit spoilery, but trust me, you'll be okay. It won't ruin the movie for you at all. But yeah, that being said, again, like, you learn pretty early on that these characters that the film wants you to get comfortable with are not safe at all. And that becomes apparent more as this film progresses into its third act. Genuinely shocked at what it decides to do with some of these characters that we follow throughout the entire film. I just think it took a lot of risk, a lot of balls, and I don't know if this is something that is just commonplace in Hong Kong action, but from my experience with the handful of American action films that I've seen, that is not common practice at all. So it was really nice to see a film that was just willing to take these risks with these characters in a way that just felt bold and wasn't just, playing it safe and, just trying to cater to what the audience always wants. One other thing that I have to mention about this film as well is the musical score. The musical score to this film is an absolute circus. Throughout the entire film, it just feels so bipolar and so over the top, and like, in a way, like, I couldn't help but laugh at it, but at the same time I feel like it adds to the charm of it all. So don't really know how to feel about it fully, because it definitely seems clunky and it seems the absolute opposite of delicate. But it just, there's something about it that almost adds to the experience in a way. And again, it's probably just because of the era, 1986, the style at the time perhaps. But again, it's just so noticeable And just like throughout the experience of watching this film, just like, what the fuck were they thinking? It's just so out there and unnecessary. And, you know, honestly, even, dare I say, even with Police Story, I had a similar experience with that where the score is just like, but either way, it doesn't matter. I had such a blast with this movie. It is so much fun. The action sequences are insane. The stunt choreography, the martial arts performances, the film editing just serves so well as the glue that, again, just holds everything together and allows everything to flow in a really impactful way. Just an overall really entertaining movie to watch. So, with all that being said, I'll give Righting Wrongs a soft 8 out of 10. Yeah, I definitely want to check out some more classic Hong Kong action flicks this year. If anybody is well-rounded in this arena, please let me know in the comment section what you think my next step should be. What are the next films I should watch? I'm really dying to hear everybody's thoughts on not only this film. I'm curious to see how many people out there watching this video in my subscriber base have actually heard and even seen this film. Anyways, that's all I got to say about the film. If you really enjoyed what I had to say about it, please give it a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.